Hi there, this is John Wilkinson again from History Made Easier. Now I've made a presentation on Mao's guerrilla tactics at Jiangxi and Chiang Kai-shek's encirclement campaigns. Well, this presentation will look at the tactics at Jiangxi when the CCP took over. As you will know, remaining in Shanghai had become impossibly difficult, and the leadership of the Communist Party decided to disperse, with Jiangxi, which was named the Central Soviet Base Area, earmarked to become the leadership's base. This would make it likely that the clashes over strategies and tactics would only intensify, and Mao would not have the freedom of manoeuvre that distance and poor communications had given him. The leadership insisted on targeting cities in order to consolidate their hold on the base area. They reasonably argued that it would enable them to link up the separate areas they controlled. Nanjiang was their first choice, and Guangzhou their alternative choice. It made sense in theory, but Mao argued that the reality was that both cities were too well defended, whilst the Red Army lacked artillery and other necessary siege equipment. His argument was accepted with respect to Nanjiang, but rejected with respect to Guangzhou. The attack, which Mao took no part in, and which took place before the leadership had moved to Jiangxi, went ahead, but failed. In the aftermath, Mao ignored the leadership's preferred course of action and literally headed in the opposite direction, meeting, it has to be said, with success. In response to criticism, Mao rounded on the leadership in uncompromising style, saying the political appraisal and military strategy of the centre are wholly erroneous. Whereas they wanted to continue the fight within the base area, Mao argued that it should be taken into the white-controlled areas. Mao was in fact throwing back the centre's criticisms of him a year earlier. Mao was taking on the party leadership head-on, and he couldn't win. After Mao was ousted from power and his like-minded supporters purged, real power was in the hands of a troika, or three-man group, consisting of Bo Gu, acting party leader, Zhou Enlai, political commissar of the Red Army, and Otto Braun, the German military advisor sent by the Comintern, though all three were very much under the influence of the Comintern. Braun serving as the living testimony to its continued influence. Chiang Kai-shek, meanwhile, remained determined to crush the Jiangxi Soviet. The fourth encirclement campaign met the same fate as the previous three campaigns, and interestingly, by applying tactics very much like those adopted by Mao, rather than those urged by the majority of the leadership. But very soon a fifth campaign began, with 500,000 fresh troops, including many of his best divisions, plus 300,000 auxiliaries, plus more reserves added with the campaign underway. And most significantly, Chiang too now had German military advisors, and it was they who suggested a new approach to him, the blockhouse strategy, fortresses that would help them hold on to territory gained. Mao advised that the only option was for the Red Army to try and break out, so as to fight outside the blockhouse, hopefully in terrain that would better suit their mobile style of warfare. This was rejected by Bo Gu and Braun, and instead the nationalist troops were attacked in pitched battles, whenever they left the blockhouses. To enforce obedience, the communist leadership sent execution squads to the battleground. Those suspected of wavering would be beheaded. Despite this, newly recruited peasant conscripts deserted in increasing numbers. And in the villages, class warfare broke out with a vengeance, and thousands of landlords and rich peasants were massacred. Other counter-revolutionaries, real or imagined, met the same fate as panic set in. While Bo attempted to rally army and civilians with the call, "Don't give up a single inch of Soviet territory," plans were being made to do just that. A final last stand was made in an effort to hold on to Runyanjin, the Soviets' capital. But the 3-week battle resulted in defeat for the communists. In October 1934, after months of agonised debates amongst party leadership, and with Zhou Enlai and some of the wider leadership already mending fences with Mao, it was decided to abandon the Soviet and head to northwest Hunan, the neighbouring province, and Mao's home province. Though modest when compared with the trek they eventually took, it was nevertheless a desperate plan, but it seemed to offer their only hope of surviving to fight another day. And that takes us to the Long March and Yan'an. It's not quite the end of what is often referred to as the First Chinese Civil War. That would really come when the Second United Front was formed, when the focus was on the fight to oust the Japanese. But I cover this in Mao's rise to power, so I'll stop at this point and pick the Civil War up again with the surrender of the Japanese, and so the end of World War II. But don't forget, in your exam, this first phase can be treated as a civil war in its own right. And of course, the same with the Second Chinese Civil War, though you can treat them as one if you wish to. It depends on what you feel about the question you are facing. Just make your approach clear in your introduction. Now, don't forget that if you're interested in tutorials, you can see if I have a slot free. Just get your parents to get in touch with me at historymadeeasier@gmail.com, and we'll see if we can work something out. But for now, let me thank you, as I hope I always do, for listening, and wish you the very best of luck in your studies. I'll pick things up at the end of World War II with my next presentation. Cheers.